Yo, what's up? Avian here, and today we got my Week 12 rankings for the college football season. We're going to talk about what teams fell, where they're going to be placed, and yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay guys, so here's my Week 12 rankings. After watching every game this week, we got Georgia at number 1. They ended up beating Tennessee 41-17. Tennessee actually scored the most points that anyone's ever scored on Georgia this year, so I guess that's an accomplishment, but they still lost by 24, so yeah, take that how you want it. And then I have Ohio State at number 2. They played Purdue and they won that game 59-31. Ohio State's offense is just unstoppable. And now Purdue's defense isn't that bad as Ohio State showed, but they just tore them up. They did not take Purdue lightly, and their offense could have honestly scored 80 if they kept their foot on the gas pedal in the second half. But Purdue was also able to score a lot. Their quarterback, O'Connell, he played very well in this game, but Purdue's defense definitely held them down. Ohio State's defense didn't play well either. They let up 31 points, which isn't too bad, I guess, because Michigan State let them score 40 and pass all over them, but they did let Purdue pass all over them as well, but they did not let them score enough to keep the game close. Then moving on to number 3, I have Oregon. Now, Oregon has the head-to-head over Ohio State, but I think Ohio State was way more impressive. Oregon, they won their game against Washington State 38-24. They were okay. I mean, they didn't look like anything else we've seen. Oregon's kind of kept a lot of these games close, which I think Ohio State being Purdue the way they did, they're better as a team, but that's why I still have Oregon ahead of Alabama and Cincinnati and stuff like that. And then speaking of Alabama, I have them at number 4. They played New Mexico State, won that game 59-3. Easiest game of the year for them, and they were actually losing 3-0 in this game in the first quarter, but in the second quarter and on, they turned up the gas. And then we have Cincinnati sitting at number 5. They played against South Florida and they won that game 45-28. They finally scored a lot of points, but again, letting South Florida score 28 is a little bit too much, I believe. So I still have them at 5 just because of that. And then number 6, we have Notre Dame. They played Virginia. They won this game 28-3. Their defense showed out in this game and they're very efficient. Notre Dame is looking better every week, which is kind of crazy. And they're one spot behind Cincinnati, the team that actually beat them in their only loss on the season. And speaking about beatdowns, we have Oklahoma State. They played TCU, a team that Baylor lost to a week ago by 2 points, and they beat them 63-17. Oklahoma State, the best defense, I think, in the conference, and they just showed that they probably have one of the better offenses too. When Oklahoma State plays Oklahoma, I'm really intrigued to see that game, because this defense and then mixed with that offense, I want to see what they're able to do against the Sooners. And then after them, we got Michigan State. Michigan State played Maryland and they won that game 40-21. Their quarterback Thorne, he played so well in this game. He actually threw for a few touchdowns. And on the flip side of things, Tua Tagovailoa didn't really look that good either. You know, K9 did his thing, and Michigan State came out with the W. And then right after Michigan State, I have Michigan. You know, I still honor the Michigan head-to-head. That's why I have Michigan State above them. But Michigan, they played Penn State. They won their game 21-17. They escaped with that touchdown in the end. And Jim Harbaugh, you know, he's got the best record that he's had at Michigan ever since that second year. So there's a lot of hype around the Wolverines right now. And then after them, I got Baylor. Now Baylor, they pulled off the biggest upset of the week. They beat Oklahoma 27-14. And I know people are going to ask, like, why aren't they up higher maybe? They are the highest two-loss team on here for one, and then I don't think Oklahoma is that good, so when Baylor beat them, they more or less exposed them and exposed that Caleb Williams isn't where he needs to be. That offense, when they don't run the ball, they're not that good. Their defense isn't as good as everyone thought, so that's why I have Baylor at 10. And then after that, I have Ole Miss. They played Texas A&M and they won their game 29-19. And honestly, guys, in this game, it was more of the run game for Ole Miss. Matt Corral did his thing, but they had more rushing yards and they ran all over Texas A&M, and I was not expecting them to run that much and that efficiently over that defense. Now, I think it might be because Texas A&M, their head coach Jimbo Fisher is seriously considering the LSU job, and it might have gotten in their heads a little bit, but it's not an excuse. They shouldn't have lost to Ole Miss. Ole Miss played good defense in this game though, but I still think that Texas A&M is the better team, so it's just a little unfortunate for them. Then after Ole Miss, we have Wake Forest. Wake Forest won their game against North Carolina State 45-42. This was another high-scoring game, but that's probably because Wake Forest doesn't really have a defense, but they have a high-powered offense, and their offense is lethal. So their whole offense looked good in this game. Their defense didn't look that good. I mean, neither did North Carolina State's, but Wake Forest's offense is just great. And then right after Wake Forest, we have OU. OU, I only dropped them to where they're at because they didn't get killed. Technically, they only lost by 10, and then that last second field goal at the end just for style points. I know they did that just for like the conference rights so they can win the championship if it comes down to it, or get into the championship, I should say. So I'm not gonna hold that against OU, so I dropped them to where they're at. They're just not looking that good. And after that game, I got UTSA, and they won their game 27-17 against Southern Miss. Now what's really weird about this game, Southern Miss, they only threw the ball 6 times, and they threw an interception in those 6 throws, and then the rest of the time they just ran the ball, which is cool, I guess, because they were in the game all the way to the 4th quarter, where UTSA scored 10 points to win the game. UTSA did not capitalize like they should have off those 3 mistakes. Like, they had 2 fumbles that lost, and then they had the interception, and they only won by 10, so UTSA did not look that good in this game. And after UTSA, we got Houston, and they won their game 37-8 against Temple. Clayton Tune played good in this game. He was 21-34, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns. While it's Justin Lynch, he had 2 interceptions, did not play that well. Their rushing attack was pretty good with all McCaskill. And Houston's looking better and better every week. I think that they're going to make a big splash if they win the rest of their games, and they'll be in a really good bowl game. And then after them, we got Wisconsin. Now Wisconsin, they win their game 35-7 against Northwestern. In this game, Graham Mertz actually played very well. He went 18 for 23, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 1 interception. But Northwestern is having such a bad year. Andrew Marty is their quarterback. He threw 3 interceptions in this game, and it was just bad. Braylon Allen for Wisconsin was able to run for 173 yards in their defense. And Wisconsin had control this entire game, so that's why I have them where they're at. Then we have BYU at 17. I moved them up a spot just because they didn't play this week, and other teams lost and whatnot. And then after them, I have Texas A&M. We talked about it. They lost to Ole Miss 19-29 and didn't look that good in that game. And then after them, we have Iowa. Iowa won their game 27-22 against Minnesota. And I'm going to be honest, guys, they should not have won this game. Their offense, again, did not play well, even though the new quarterback, Padilla, I think that's how you say his name, Padilla, maybe? He threw 2 touchdowns, didn't even have a run game, and they only had 277 yards like to show for it in this game. Minnesota had 409. Now, if it wasn't for a couple mistakes on Minnesota's part, they would have won this game. So Iowa's still trying to find themselves. It's hard to even put them this high in the rankings because of how they look. Then next we have the Utah Utes. They won their game against Arizona 38-29. Cameron Rising, he threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Will Plummer actually threw for 219 yards and a touchdown. And honestly, Arizona's not playing that bad. They almost beat Utah. They won their first game last week, I'm pretty sure. I think the Wildcats are going to have a good couple years after this one under their new head coach. Next we got Pittsburgh. I have them at 21. They won their game 30-23 on Thursday against North Carolina. Now, holding North Carolina only 23 points is a big win because North Carolina scores a lot. And they don't really have a defense either, and they only let Pittsburgh score 30. So I guess there's a little bit more defense in this game. The ACC is picking it up. Kenny Pickett, he was 25-43, 346 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Sam Howell, 22 for 33, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. It is what it is. Let's move on to the next one. And then next, entering the top 25 at number 22, we have the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. They beat Troy 35-21. They looked decent in this game. Troy actually put up the same amount of yards as they did. So it's just, yeah, they're 9-1, and I believe they deserve to be ranked. And then after that, we have Arkansas. Arkansas won their game 16-13 in double overtime over LSU. LSU stays in like every game that they're in. And honestly, they played this new guy, Gary Nussmeier. I think that's how you say his name. He went for 179 yards. He threw 2 interceptions, though. KJ Jefferson played good. He had 1 touchdown. But LSU's defense, their defense is so good. Their defense only allowed 16 points, but their offense is so bad. And they actually had 308 yards in this game, but they did not win, and that's all right. And the reason I say it's all right is because I strongly believe their head coach next year is going to be Jimbo Fisher, and he is going to light a spark in this team, and they're going to be very good. I honestly believe he's the only reason that Jimbo Fisher is going to get this job is because he beat Alabama at Texas A&M, and if you're playing in the SEC and if you're one of the top teams like LSU, you have to beat Alabama. You have to be able to compete with Georgia. So that's my hot take. I believe Jimbo Fisher is going to be the coach of the Louisiana State Tigers next year. And then moving on to our 24th spot, we got San Diego State. They pulled out a close one against Nevada, a very good Nevada team. They're only 7-3, and San Diego State won this game 23-21. They won narrowly in the final quarter. Their offense, honestly, it didn't do that well compared to Nevada's. They're very evenly matched. I think they had 362 yards and then Nevada had 358. Quote me if I'm wrong, but their quarterback, Carson Strong for Nevada, he threw 3 touchdowns, 350 yards. He was 34 for 48, and he just looked great. Now I'm surprised that they didn't win this game, but cause San Diego State, I guess. And last but not least, to round out the top 25, I have Appalachian State at the 25th spot. They're 8-2. They look good. They just beat South Alabama 31-7. They've had a lot of good games this year. Chase Bryce, he was 14 for 26, had 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Honestly, not that good. Their running game, it wasn't that good either. This was more of a defensive game. South Alabama actually didn't take advantage of the fumbles that Appalachian State lost, so this game would have been a lot closer, but nonetheless, I have them in the top 25. Alright guys, that's going to do it. That's going to be the end of the video. Let me know how you think I did, and let me know what your thoughts are on the top 25, and we're going to go over the committee's rankings on Tuesday. I'm going to make a video around midnight, so stay tuned, get ready for that video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.